Hello everyone, it's Laura here. Today we have a very different lunch with Laura. And let me just get my chat open. Excuse me. Here we are. Alright, so I had a friend in the coloring community. If you don't know her, her name is Melody Goh, and she's on Instagram, and she's right here in the YouTube community as well. She asked me a great question, and sometimes when people ask me great questions, I want to make a whole video around it. Hi Shannon, hi Philip. So that's what we're doing today. We're making a whole video around one question that somebody asked me. Now, hi Beth Ann, and hi Daria. Hello, hello. Welcome everybody. So I just pulled a bunch of drawing supplies. Hello Marcia, Beth, hello. So I'm going to move these out of the way to kind of go over what we're going to work on today. So Melody came to me and she said, hey, I have a page that I'm working on and I want to make a drop shadow, but I've erased it now so many times and I don't know what to do. So I was like, okay, no problem, let's, but this kind of question I feel like is much easier to answer in a video. So, excuse me, I have a little cold or a little cough, so if I am clearing my throat, that's what's going on there. Hopefully, nothing major. So, but in any case, Melody, when she gave me her her coloring page, this is a page that she completed, or is working on rather, in Exotic Kingdom by Marty Woods. And so I can't take credit for the coloring or the illustration. However, what I did is I took it into Photoshop and I made it 3 of them across and lightened it up enough so that the background wasn't too heavy. This is printed on just your typical Strathmore recycled sketch paper, nothing fancy. I just wanted something with a little bit of tooth, so that way when I color, when I, do my drop shadow rather, under it, it would be easier to work on. Hello, Bev. Who else did I miss? Hello, Michelle. Hi, Lori. Hi, Emily. Hello, everybody. Hi, Amanda. So today we're just going to go through 3 different lighting scenarios and camera scenarios, if you will, camera or perspective. So the first situation, I'm just going to go through, and I hope that you can see this. I sketched a little diagram of the lighting situation. So in this situation, actually let me zoom out so that way I can explain better. So in this situation, the light source is coming from above, right? So it's, if this is the object, the light source is coming, it's right, right next to the where the viewer is. So if you're the viewer, you're the camera, right? Then the light source is right next door, right? So the light source is coming from above and the perspective is coming from above. So that's one situation. She just said drop shadow, so I wasn't sure which type, so we're going to go through a couple. The next situation is where the light source is still coming from above, but now it's coming from an angle. So we're going to do, the top left angle, but the camera will still be dead on. Okay, so we're still looking down, but the light is now coming from this way. And then the last situation, something a little bit different, probably not what she asked for, but what I personally would do myself, is that instead of looking at it down, now the light is coming from above, like literally from above, as if it's standing up, and the camera is looking at it dead on. So instead of laying it down flat, like it's flat on the ground, now I'm pulling it upright so it's upright. We're looking at it from the side, and the light is coming from the top, so all the shadows would be down here. So we're gonna just go ahead and go through each. Hello everybody. Hi Joe Beth. Hi Louise. Hope I got everybody. Hello. Thank you all for showing. So I'm gonna I have here a selection of different coloring supplies. She said that she was doing it in graphite, so that's why I wanted to pull my graphite sketching pencils out. So typically when I'm doing a graphite drawing, I use a mechanical pencil, which is what you see here for sketching. My two favorites, this one is super old. It's the Staedtler 92507. It's 7mm. I have it loaded with HB right now. I don't think the eraser is good anymore, but it does come with an eraser in the back. And then my other favorite is the Zebra M301. This is a 0.5 mechanical eraser. Pencil. Mechanical pencil. And then for erasers, since I was just talking about it, I have a couple different types. My favorites though, I love the mono, both this type of eraser and also the little Tombow mono. Yeah, you do too, Joe Beth. So this little Tombow mono eraser is really nice. It gets into all the little nooks and crannies. And then this one for larger areas. I use both. And also, if you just want to lift a little of the graphite and you don't want to actually like pull or erase everything off of the area you're working in, this kneaded eraser, any kneaded eraser works great. I think this one is by General, so it could be by Staedtler. Anyway, or maybe Faber-Castell. I don't know. They all make them. They're all pretty much the same. Then for my drawing pencils, I have a whole bunch. I prefer the Staedtler Mars Lumograph pencils, if you couldn't tell. So these are my favorites. I have the 2B, 4B, and 6B. These are darker than the HB lead in the mechanical pencils. You can go darker than a 6B, but at that point I just prefer to go on over to fine liners and markers, just because I find that the 8B and softer kind of smudges so easy. At least for me, I prefer a marker. And then for quite light drafting and for like lighter sketching, I like this Tombow Mono. It's just a 4H pencil. This came actually with a calligraphy set with like some Tombow brush markers and stuff, but I love this pencil. I use it a lot actually. And then for fine liners and markers, I don't think we're going to need these guys, but I just wanted to kind of show you my general selection of tools. Hi Pickle. Hi Bunny. Who else did I miss? I think I got everybody. Okay, so I like these Micron Pigma pens. I have the 01 and the 005 here. This one is the smallest. I also tend to really love the Faber-Castell Pitt pens. I have here a B, which is a brush pen, but I also have the extra small as well. And then I'm a big fan of the Tombow products in general, so I do love these two Tombow pens. I have the Mono Twin, which is really fun, and then this one, which is more like a calligraphy or a brush pen. It's got like a plastic nib, but it actually has line variation. So what I'll do is, in the description below, I'll just link to my sketching kit. To finish off my little sketching kit, you always have some sort of white gel pen. I prefer the Uniball Signo white gel pen. And then I always have a pencil extender because, as you can see, my pencils tend to get pretty short. So that's my whole sketching kit. We'll probably only need the graphite today because we're just doing drop shadows, but I just thought I would share with you what I like. So I'm going to start off, since drop shadows are really soft, so the most important quality of a drop shadow is its softness. Okay, let me zoom in just a little bit. Let's see, is that better? The microns, no, Emily, I don't, okay, so the main key with storing your pens, if you store them up and down in a drawer, what you're going to get is drying out, no matter if you store them with the tip side down or the tip side up, and that's just because they're meant to lay flat in a tray. So if you keep them flat, lay them flat, then they don't dry out, in my opinion. I rarely ever have them dry out before the ink runs out. And I really think it's to do with how they're stored. Hi, Deb. Let's see. I don't really have the Staedtler pigment liners, so I'm not sure. Yeah, it could be a faulty faulty product as well. I would contact the company, and if they're brand new, you can show your receipt and show them what's going on. Sometimes I've had luck with people responding to that. But I haven't really had any trouble with the Faber-Castell Pitt pens or the pigment microns. Those are the two that I use. Okay, so for this particular scenario, we have, I'll just remind you, we have the light coming from the top and also the camera coming from the top. So the light source and the camera are both looking down on this object, and we're going to cast a drop shadow around it. So the key with this is just to remember your light source. So since the light source is coming from above, it will cast a soft shadow all around the entire object. This is a very, very common way to do a drop shadow, especially in graphic design. You'll find it very common. So what I'm going to do here is, with my 2B pencil, just really softly with a light touch, go around the whole entire item. Now, the key with shadows in general is that they're always soft. So I'm going to be layering, and you'll see I may even use some smudging, although I prefer not to do that. And I've shrunk these down. The photo that she provided was much bigger, but I've shrunk them down just to kind of conserve time. I figure I can show you small, and then Melody, you can go ahead and apply it to your own piece. But just to sort of give the general idea, this is a question I've been asked before, but never with a specific project. So thank you to Melody for being a willing participant on my YouTube channel and letting me collaborate with her, basically, and show her on camera. Now, I think Melody is probably asleep right now, so she may not actually join us live, but that's okay. She can always watch it back later. So you can see that the paper is fairly textured, but I wanted this because it's kind of hard to color over ink. I printed this from my printer. It's just regular printer ink, and sometimes it's difficult to color over. So I gave myself a toothier paper. This is the Strathmore sketch paper, just so that way I would have something to work with if I need it. And I shouldn't need to color over too much ink. There's some ink from the paper. Yeah, Emily, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about the Staedtler products, really, but that's okay. There might be somebody in the audience that knows. Got a lot of people here, actually. Thank you all for coming. So we're just going around the whole entire object. And this is probably the way I think she wanted, or maybe the second one is what she was aiming for, I think, is my guess. But I just thought by offering 3 different drop shadow possibilities that we could maybe help more than just Melody here with this video. And you guys can apply this to whatever object that you're working with, obviously. So it's just a process of going around the whole object. It will take a little bit of time. We're going to do this in layers. Alright, everybody saying hi. So what's cool is I've had other people ask me for critiques or help. And if you do want help like this, where I color right directly on your coloring page, all you need to do is send me an email and let me know, and send me the image that you want me to help you with. And basically what I do is I just try to, you know, answer a specific question that you have. So I don't want to like just go ahead and, you know, color over your page for no reason. So if you do have a specific question, like Melody here was struggling with drop shadows, then just let me know. Okay, so now that we have a general, see, it's softened the edges. So now I want to go to, that was the 2B. Now I want to soften that even further. So I'm going to go to my HB pencil. Now this is a mechanical pencil. Hi, Pat. And so it's a smaller surface, and it's always sharp. So that's what's nice about it. Now I'm just going to go in and gently go over what I've just put down, and I'm going to go slightly outside of it, and I'm using circular motion here just to keep it really, really soft. And we're just going over what we already did, but then going just outside of it into the white of the paper more. Very light pressure. But this will help get into the nooks and crannies of the paper a lot better than a regular pencil will, just by the nature of it. But by establishing that that 2B pencil beforehand, it gives it a little bit of darkness right around the figure. In this case, our little seahorsey guy. So another key about this particular project is just to have a lot of patience. Unfortunately, it takes a while to build up the right layers, to make it feel soft. So don't do this when you're an impatient set of mindset rather. See here. Oh my goodness, 5 cups of coffee, Michelle. Yeah, Marty Woods has some great books. So, and this is from one of his, the Exotic Kingdom book. And I know that Melody isn't finished this page yet, but she sent me, a message and asked me for help, and I was like, sure, send me the picture, and we'll get to work. So I'm sure that you'll be seeing this on her account at some point when she's finished. And if you don't follow her, she's on Instagram. I believe it's Melody Goh or something like that. So we're just going around. When I get tired of one spot, I just jump to another spot. Really easy way to keep your attention. Alright guys, we're getting there. And thanks to Melody for this question. It's funny, I think sometimes the best questions are the ones that you guys ask. So I really appreciate it. Alright, so I think you guys get the idea here. I'm getting a little messy. Sorry about that. So what you can see is that with the second layer, we've just softened everything out and also sort of solidified the areas that are going to be really dark. But now let's make that really come home. I haven't completely finished, but I think you guys get the idea. So now I want to take my 6B. So this is the darkest lead that I'm going to use here on this piece. And what I'm going to do is just gently go in just the areas right next to the object we're trying to shade, and just go ahead and give it that really dark pop of contrast just right against that item. You can, if it's a particularly dark area, if it's like tight, you can kind of bleed it out a little into the darker, into the lighter spots. But in general, I'm just sticking really, really tight to the actual object. Now this, you could do this with pen too. It might just be a little more harsh looking. I just chose to do it with the pencil because we're just doing all graphite right now. But you could also do this with colored pencil. There's so many different mediums. You could use pan pastel for this exercise as well. That would be really nice and soft. So there's a lot of ways you could accomplish this. But we're just using pencil today because that's what Melody's using, and so that's what we're going with. So you can see I'm just bringing in the contrast where either I didn't put it before or maybe I just feel like it's lacking. So I think you guys get this idea. Oh, thank you. Michelle, no, this is, this right here is the diagram of what we're doing. We're just doing a top-down drop shadow, meaning that the light source is coming from above the object, and so is the perspective. So this particular one, there's no need for vanishing points because it's such a direct situation. You know, as we go through, you would see I would darken up both sides of this object and they would both have a soft shadow around them. That's a very rare situation that only really happens in studio lighting, but I wanted to show it because this is what most people think of when they think of drop shadow. This is the type of drop shadow that you know, like programs give you, like Photoshop, things like that. So when you're thinking of drop shadow, I think most people consider this type of drop shadow. So I could spend all day doing this thing. But I think you guys get the general idea. We're putting shadow around the entire object. And popping it off the surface. Yeah. So this is one way to do it, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I think you guys get the general idea of that particular lighting situation. So now let's go to this one. This is my more preferred method. It's still a very similar situation and still, I think, very easy to understand, but it's just a little bit more sophisticated looking, and I think gives even more of a dimensional look. Oh, good. I'm glad it's helpful. So what we're going to do is, for this guy here, we'll use a similar technique. But now let's just refer back to our little diagram here. So we've got the light source is coming from above, but now it's to the left. And our camera is looking at it straight on. So we're going to take all of what we learned here. So instead of putting shadows around the whole entire object, now we're just going to put shadows on the bottom right of the object. Because the light is coming from the top left, we're going to put all of the shadows on the bottom right. So anything that you see here, but again, we're still looking at it from the top, so it's still a very flat, but it just has a little bit more of a dynamic look, I think. So I'm grabbing my 2B here. We're going to use the same process, but now this time we're not going to shade all the way around. So when I do this kind of work, I ask myself, if the light was coming from this way, where would it end, right? So I know that it's going to be around this side, but maybe less of a shadow than down here where there's more of the bulk of that mass blocking the light. I hope this is making sense. And now see up here where this area is, I'm going to skip that because that will have the light, but right back here we'll need a shadow. And again, all underneath this seahorse. All right, so we'll do his little nosy thingy. And now everything down here will be shifted. And I think this, even though it's a very similar situation to this, the first one, just looks a little bit more sophisticated because it's a little bit less dead on. Oh, yeah, that's okay. They're underneath. Underneath. On this side, they'll be much more dark. And for these types of shapes, I don't worry about being precise. I just kind of follow the general outline. But with shadows, they can kind of dance and play, so if they're not perfect, it's okay. Hey, wait, that rhymed. Ha. Okay. Anyway. So you get the idea, I'm sure. We're just going to go around. I just want to show you where they all go. Alright, so over here is tricky because now we're getting close to the light source. There's still a couple of spots where we'll want it, but in general they're going to be sort of shifted down to the right. Okay, so the key to this sort of situation, yeah, rhyming live streams. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to our mechanical pencil. This is just an HB, and again, I'm just gonna soften everything and kind of smooth it out. That more soft lead can be very it can kind of powder on the paper, so I'm just sort of moving it around and kind of pushing it into the grain of the paper a little bit. The same way that we did the other one. And I'm lightening up the pressure when we go outside of that line. And just sort of softening it. Although, not very well. There we go. So ideally we want to spend longer than I'm doing on this here. But you can kind of get the idea, I think, from this demo. Hopefully. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, me myself, like if I were doing this on a final piece, I'd spend a lot longer on this. But I don't want to actually do all the work for Melody. I want her to have some say in how it looks. I'm just trying to explain. And it's funny, I just explain so much better by showing rather than talking it out. I'm so visual, I guess. Okay, so you get the idea there. If there's an area that's too harsh or that you went too far with, this is where the kneaded eraser comes in really handy. So it's kind of good that I was messier this time around. So what I do is I just gently press the kneaded eraser onto the paper, and it just lifts up some of that without actually getting rid of it completely. Really nice way to soften things up really quickly. Like over here too. Just gently tap the paper. No need to like actually rub it or erase it. This thing picks up stuff really, really quickly. You can see it's already grabbed a lot. And then once to clean it, all you gotta do is smush it and it'll clean itself. It's magic. Okay, so let's go back to our 6B here and really tighten this up and make it look much more dimensional. So you can see we're going to do the similar process. We're going to just go right on tight to the object and give some darkness and depth. At this point too, if you need to, you can use your fine liner. If you're using colored pencils, you can use a variation on the grays, or even just one colored pencil, like a really dark blue or a dark gray would work well. Just varying the pressure on your pencil works really beautifully. So there's a lot of ways to go about this. This is just one way to approach it. But having this contrast pop is really what I think makes it stand off and make it look like it's coming away from the paper. And it's funny, just by leaving off certain elements, not shading here, but back here, you can really make it feel like it's really coming off of the paper. And in this situation, I would enhance the effect even further by doing something like taking a white gel pen at the end. And let me make sure this is primed up and ready to go. One of my gel pens refuses to work, and then the others are great. Hold on, where are you? Where's the other one? So for this situation, I can show you, actually we'll do that at the end. We'll do gel pen at the end and just show you some. Yeah, that's the one that works. Hello. Let's throw that one away. Okay, so I'll do the gel pen light highlighting at the end too. Let's go on to this one here. So this is the most I would consider advanced situation. And the reason why is because in these two, hi, hello, Christina. Well, at least it worked eventually. So in this situation, we have the light coming from the top, and the shadows are everywhere. So it's pretty easy. We just follow the outline of the object and shade outwards softly all around it. Very, very easy to accomplish. This one here takes a little bit more thought. We've got to pick where the highlights are and where the shadows are. But again, still fairly easy. We're just following the shape of the object and only shading on the one side. But now this guy is totally different. This is, yeah, Michelle, it's actually, I think I mistreated one of mine. I left it in a hot car, and I think he just doesn't like working now. But, it's my problem. It's my fault. So for this guy here, this is a totally different lighting situation than the other two. So we have here, let's just actually, we'll just talk about it like this. So we have, instead of having him laying flat down, now let's imagine he's standing upward, right? So the light is coming from the top, so it will hit his head. It won't hit the jawline. It will hit this little, you know, puff of his chest, but it won't hit this area, okay? And then when it comes to the drop shadow, all of the light is coming down, and the shadows will all be underneath right here. So this guy is going to be a totally different lighting situation, and I'm actually going to just go in with my 6B. Let's make this really quick. And what I'm going to do is not just show you how I would shade the drop shadow, but also how I would shade the entire object. This is the way that I would approach this particular page myself. So, I think I'm missing, yep. Hello, everybody. I know, poor little guy, right? He's getting lots of attention today. Okay, so first let's go with the drop shadow. So the light is coming from directly above, but we're looking at it from here. So the light's here and we're here, right? So, and the ground is here. So I start with the items closest to the ground. So we have this thing here, and I just do back and forth motions with my pencil. And I'm just going right to the edge of where the object is, and I'm doing a squashed version of that shape. So this here, it's like I took it and I squished it, and this is the result here. It's like an oval. Okay, now we've got this thing here, so I'm going to sort of put a line there, and we've got these squashed elements. I'm just going to do a bunch of squashed ovals. Like so. Now, as far as the actual seahorse goes, he's not going to really cast a whole lot of shadow beyond what's already here. So I'm just going to gently put a little more soft shading just around these items, just to denote more mass. Like so. Now we can use, let's grab our mechanical pencil again. We can use this just to put some soft lines right around it. And you can at this point put in the texture of the ground if you want to. So we can put in some pebbles maybe, you know, so they're gonna be casting a shadow. And like so, right? Now, if we do this way, then this guy needs some shadows. Hi, CB, how you doing? So I'm gonna do something here, which we didn't need in these two, okay? Because what we had was a very top-down lighting situation, so we didn't really need to fuss too much about the light here, because the light was very overhead, and so this worked really well. But say you want to go with this situation here. At this point now, the lighting isn't right anymore. We want to add some shadows to this little guy. So I'm just going to take my 6B. Now, ideally what I would be doing is using the same color pencils that I was using for this, for the actual coloring. But I don't, first of all, this is just a printed version. I don't have the exact color pencil she used. So I'm just going to go over it and just darken areas with this. But, you know, you can take this sort of idea and extrapolate it to what you would actually do yourself. So the first thing that I notice is that this chin area would need to be darker. So we're going to do all down here. Again, you can use a dark red or a brown or some other color. I'm just, for the sake of, you know, expediency, all down here, again, I would shade, especially right under this chest area, which will create a lot of cast shadow. This hair stuff, so what I would do is just come in from the center where this would be the darkest, and then also just shade close to the actual seahorse. And just give stronger shadows right around the bottom there. So it didn't take too much to bring this into the shading of this particular item. Again, like I would shade a lot of the other objects as well, giving this a drop shadow from the petals. Onto the center of the flower would have a drop shadow, and also the bottom parts of these flowers would have a drop shadow, or rather just a contour shadow, I guess is what they call it. So I hope that this gives you a general idea of 3 different ways. I could keep going on this, but I think you get the idea. Let me just zoom out so that you guys can see sort of what we've got here. So here's 3 different ways. There's so many different ways to do drop shadows. These are not the only ways. These are just, I think, the ones that are the most common. So we've got the overhead, over camera view. We've got the top left lighting with the overhead camera view, and then we've got the overhead light side view camera. So that's like, I would consider these like the 3 basics that I would want to learn first if I were learning drop shadows. But you can take this experiment, you can take this this project and apply it to any, you could just draw a circle and do different drop shadows in different lighting situations depending on what effect you're going for. So really, really fun way to play with light. Before we go, I do want to show you just a quick thing you can do with the gel pen. Let's make sure I've got the right one. Yep. So now that the drop shadows are in place, in this particular one, all of the little white highlights would go right above. So basically everything direct. So you would put, and what helps make things look realistic is mostly just contrast. So just adding a little bit of white at the end will just make it pop. Again, you don't have to follow me precisely, but you can see how that's just sort of, here, let me zoom in again, sorry. Ooh, not that much. So you can kind of see how that's just making that pop even more. For this particular one, I would choose, since the light is coming at an angle, I would choose that light source. Yeah, this pen. It's probably because I just printed this recently, so the pen doesn't like it, but you can get the idea. I would do all of the top left edges of the item. So wherever you see an edge, I would just do a quick little highlight. And then for this guy, it's a very similar thing, but it's just from the top. So everything would come from the top. So yeah, you guys, I'm sure, get the idea. So I hope that this is useful. Oh, well, that's great. I'm glad that you can catch it. Alright, so does anybody have any questions about drop shadows or lighting situations that we didn't cover here in this video? Because I can always add it to my list of things to cover. Hello, hello. Hi, May. I'm sorry I didn't see you before. Reflective shadowing. Okay, Loretta, that's a whole nother subject. Where's my book? Oh, it's over by the couch. So shadows with reflective color in it is what you mean? I can definitely do that. Shadows. Oh, you got it, Pickle. Let's see. Lighting. Yeah, so reflective light and reflective color, we can definitely cover that. That's a big... I do demonstrate that in some of my coloring tutorials, but I don't really actually discuss it like we did here with this guy. So reflective light, reflective color. You got it. All right, it's on the list. Anybody else? Emily, I'm mostly self-taught. I did go to a couple of classes, mostly figure drawing classes when I was in high school. But as far as like, I didn't graduate as an art major. I didn't, you know, like I didn't take a ton of extensive art classes or anything. Most of what I learn is just by experimenting, trying things, and also a whole lot of practice. No problem, Pickle. That's fine. You don't have to chat. Alright guys, well I don't see any other questions in the chat. If you do have a question and I didn't cover it here in the video, please put it in the comments below. I'm always happy to help you guys out. If you have a project like this where you want me to fix something up for you, or you want me to show you how to do something that you're stuck on, just go ahead and email me. It's lauracolorstoo@gmail.com, and you know, just email me your image and we can go through different ways to fix it. So I hope that this was useful, Melody, and if it wasn't, then go ahead and let me know and we'll get you sorted out. But yeah, I think this is enough to at least get you started in the right direction. So, oh, that's good. I'm glad you guys like it. Skin tones with the cheap plain watercolors. What cheap plain watercolors do you mean, Loretta? I'm sorry, I need more info than that. Because I don't know, I mean, everybody's definitions are different. Oh, of course, Michelle. Of course you can. Everybody's welcome to share my videos. I really appreciate that. You don't have to ask me permission either. You can just share them, but I love it. Thank you. Okay, Crayola. Okay, I'll have to get some Crayola watercolors. So Crayola or Prang skin tones. Alright, so the next time that I get a check, I will go and get some Crayola or Prang's watercolors. But we'll see. It's on my list. Okay, Yarka I have, but I have a set that's from the late 80s, early 90s, so the pigments that are in my set are a lot different than the pigments that they come with now. But yeah, I can do a set of Prang. I can get a new set of Prang watercolors or Crayola. That would be fine. So the next time I buy something. Yeah, Loretta, mine's from, showing my age here, but I think mine's from like 1988, so, I just know that the set is different, like the actual colors that they include are different than the ones that they used to. And I have a sneaky suspicion some of the pigments are different because I got some replacement pans for some of them and they don't feel the same way. So I just don't want to use that on camera just because I don't feel like it's an accurate tool to use today. Yeah, mine are the pans. Okay. Alright guys, well, I hope that this was helpful. And like I said, if you have any questions or if you want me to do something similar like this with you, then just email me. And yeah. Alright guys, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day and a magical time coloring. Bye.